Hey everyone, AngryHoneyBadger here, and it's time for us to start taking a look at support champions in Season 4-ish. We're going to go ahead and start off with a champion that I just play all the time. If I'm going to support, one of my go-tos is Leona, and there's a few reasons for that. I know I made a build for her not like too ridiculously long ago, but changes have happened. We're going to talk about multiple support things, so just kind of get some stuff out of the way. But the reason I like to play Leona is because she's a really strong support and just champion overall. She's just really, really good at her job, and as long as you have someone to back you up, it's really rewarding to play her. When I say if they back you up, what I mean is Leona is kind of an all-in. When you initiate, if you don't have anybody following you, you're pretty much just left out to die. So you need a team that sees that if you're aggressive, they can be aggressive, and it actually rewards them with damage. And the reason that this works out this way is because of her passive is one of those big reasons, which is Sunlight. Now, Leona's damaging spells afflict the target with Sunlight for 3.5 seconds. When allies then shoot them, it deals additional damage to them. This increases every 2 levels as damage, how it goes up. And because of this, they're just going to deal more damage. It's really awesome. So, as you use everything and you damage them, you get the Sunlight, and then your friends attack them, and then it hurts them even harder. So that's why, when you go diving into a fight, you just deal tons of damage. Well, your friends, your allies deal a lot more damage to them, and it's really easy to pick up kills because of it. So, that's what we're going to be doing with that. So, let's go ahead and talk about her abilities, the rest of them, besides her passive. First off, there is her Q, which is the Shield of Daybreak, and what happens there is your next basic attack will deal a bit of damage. It's going to stun them, too, for 1.25 seconds, so that's pretty much all that really does. Then there is your W ability, which is your Eclipse, which raises a shield on yourself. It is up for 3 seconds. I'm actually going to get into a tiny bit of a fight. I'm actually going to pick up the kill on Caitlyn, which is fine, because then he's going to pick up the kill on Sona. Yay, kills for both of us. So lots of gold coming to us for that little fight that we got in. But anyways, back to Eclipse. You get increased armor and magic resist for 3 seconds. When the effect ends, it deals damage outward too. So that's really nice. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist. And then there is your E ability, which I like to put a point to at level 1, which is your Zenith Blade. Leona sends out her little sword. If it hits them, it's going to deal damage to them, magic damage, and it's going to basically immobilize them for 0.5 seconds. So it's kind of like a mini stun. It basically just makes sure they don't go anywhere while you're slinging over to them. So basically, you use Zenith Blade over to them, then you bust out the Shield of Daybreak to give that little stun on them. And you make sure that your Eclipse is up, so you are protected with that. So that's kind of your abilities. You're going to probably, when I say probably, you basically put a point into your E and then your Q, and then you max out your shield. Or you put a point into your E and then you put a point in your shield. Basically, levels 1, 2, and 3, make sure you picked up all 3 of those abilities. Max out that shield first, that Eclipse. You're going to want that first. So that's what you're going to max out. And then typically you're going to max out your Q for awesomeness there. And then last, your Zenith Blade. That's going to be the last thing you finish out. And then your ultimate is your Solar Flare. After a brief delay, actually, in a not brief delay, you murdered the enemy Sona. Sona has a hard time actually dealing with Leona, in case you guys are looking for counters. Since Leona gets to her and gap closes, it kind of negates the whole Sona poke thing. When you're on top of Sona's face, it's not a good, safe place for her. So you can kind of get things done. So that's why I picked Leona this game. And she's just awesome anyways. But back to that ultimate of the Solar Flare. What happens there is after a brief delay, you call down a beam of solar energy. It's going to deal damage to them. If they're in the middle of it, it's going to stun them, which is going to happen right here. Here comes the Solar Flare. It does hit her before she's able to knock back, and Lucian will be able to pick up the kill. So we're getting ahead down here, which is what we like to do. The other thing, too, with Leona, I can see how a Sona could beat her, is basically as if Leona isn't aggressive enough. Which, don't be overly aggressive. Once again, your teammates need to come help you with this. But if you're not aggressive enough, you're kind of burning her epic potential to just smash people into the ground, really, and CC them into the ground. Because with all the stuff she has, the little immobilizations, and the Q, which stops people from moving, and then you have your ultimate of Solar Flare, stopping them from moving or slowing them if it hits them on the sides of it, people don't go anywhere. And they just sit and they soak up all that damage, and because they're not going anywhere, and then your passive since you hit people, is allowing your teammates to deal more damage to them. So no one moves and they all take extra damage. She's just a really good champion. I highly suggest her. She is a ton of fun. So those are your abilities. Got those out of the way. Now what we did this game is we took the Relic Shield, or the Relic Coin, or whatever the hell it's called. The first part of what will eventually become Face of the Mountain. And we're going to talk about these items for a second, just generically about all supports. Actually, we have Lux coming down. Here comes an ultimate. I'm taking the tower. I'm not going to be really able to get over to Sona, so I'm going to just make sure I take this tower for them and then get out before I die, and they're able to secure the double kill. So I made sure I didn't get out too soon, so they'd start tanking and accidentally die. I know I'm a lot beefier than them. I have way more health than them. So that's what we're doing. Anyways, let's go back to the new support items. We have the coin, which builds into Ascension. We have this one, which builds into Face of the Mountain, and then we have the other one. And I've seen a lot of people trying different things with them, and which ones are better than which ones, and a lot of people are trying to figure all that out. So I'm going to give you my interpretation of these items. On some of these tankier champions, like Leona, maybe a Taric, maybe a Thresh, I consider him kind of tanky since he passively gets tanky. What I like to do with them is, I think Face of the Mountain, building towards it's not a terrible idea, at least getting the beginning part. I like the idea behind getting the health and the health regen. Not a bad idea considering you're kind of front lines. You're going to be taking some damage, especially when you initiate and things like that. So I think it's a good idea to do that. And it gives you some decent gold. I think the safest one out of all of them is the coin and doing that. And it's a really good one too, because you get the health regen and the mana regen. You're also going to be getting the passive gold from when minions die around you. Don't forget that with Face of the Mountain, or at least all the ones that build into it, you need to standard attack those minions when they come around, so you get the gold and you share the gold too. So you share a lot of gold that way. Not a bad idea. The other one, which I can't think of the name of, the knife one, that's not terrible, but you need it with really pokey champions that are going to be dealing damage, and typically I'd take it on someone like maybe a Zyra or an Annie support. But the problem with that item is there's only one huge problem. If you're not dealing enough poke back and forth, the main issues you have with the item is you're not making enough gold from it. So then I would consider selling it and picking up the coin. The coin's the safe bet. So it's just kind of my interpretation of most of these items. So another thing too, if you're going to be building this one and building towards Face of the Mountain, I'd actually consider, like, you could do Face of the Mountain, it's not terrible, and I think I do it this game, but eventually late game you're probably going to want to sell it and pick up the Talisman of the Ascension, because the passive on it is really awesome. When you activate that one, it gives you the increased movement speed. It's basically Australia's movement speed on that item. So it's really helpful for the whole team, and that's really good with Leona, because moving the whole team into the fight after you initiate and dive in with Zenith Blade is a good way to get them there too, and to make sure you don't get kind of caught out and die fast. So, because Leona can go deep really fast, and it's helpful if your team comes with you. So, the first things we started doing though is we're building towards that item, since we just talked about it. And then we have the first part of our boots, and we have finished off our Ruby Sightstone. So we're getting a bunch of help from the Ruby Sightstone. We got tons of abilities to, or we got 5 charges, we can put them on those wards, make sure we keep the map warded, and we're obviously getting our wards out that way. We do have our vision totem, and we'll be building that towards the greater vision totem for the pink ward, and that's really helpful. We'll have 1 pink ward that way that we can use, and then we'll have, just those Ruby Sightstone wards when we need those ones too. And then obviously we're picking up some health pots too, but at this point with those 2 kind of items, we actually do have a lot of life between the 2 of them. That's really helpful on Leona. Now the next thing that we want to do is get tanky, because tanky Leona doesn't really die, and she can keep using that crowd control a lot as the game's happening. Now the cool thing that they did kind of tweak recently on Leona is they changed her Eclipse and the way that it scales a little bit. I think they scaled it so it works better when you actually build the items to help it. So what I mean by that is when you build more armor and magic resist, you're going to get more stats from Eclipse, and that's the cool part. So what we're going to start doing now is picking up more armor, magic resist, and health. So we have a lot more survivability, and we're able to use our crowd control just even better. So we can use all of our abilities over and over. And what we're going to do with that is, well, actually, we finished off our boots just now because I like boots. It's good to move around. What we did with those, we went Merc Treads because the tenacity is nice. So we don't get locked down too long from enemy crowd control. And a little bit of mag resist always helps. And then we picked up just a cloth armor for now. based off of what we're doing for gold. And the cloth armor will be being built towards one of my favorite items on her. It's the Randuins Omen. And Omen, I like Omen on her. I know some people maybe do like Frozen Heart, but I like Omen because Omen does give us a lot of health. It is really, really nice getting that 500 health and 70 armor. And then we do have our unique passive and then our unique active. The unique passive is the one where when they target you and they attack you, it does slow the attacker by 15% for 1 second. It does do that. And then you have the unique active, which when you activate it, it's going to slow all enemies around you by 35% for 2 seconds plus 1 second for every 100 armor and magic resist you have. So it goes up as you continue to get tankier. So the item works really, really well on Leona. And then, like, if your shield's up and you use it, that means all your stats are buffed up, meaning that slow is even longer. So that's what I like to try to do with Leona. Another thing you can do, I'm getting chased right now, but I can keep kind of kiting with all those little pokes and stuns. I can keep stunning that Cho'Gath, and my team can keep attacking him. And not only that, I keep proccing the sunlight on him, so my teammates can deal more damage to him. So while you're running with Leona, you can like mini initiate. So kind of fun to do, and you can do that. So now we're gonna work more towards the Omen, and what we're gonna do there is pick up the first part with that Warden's Mail. That armor is very helpful, and it's gonna be slowing them too because that's part of the Warden's Mail. And we have these charges around us. We need to use those. We need more allies around us to use those charges on our not the face of the mountain, the one before it. Relic, I don't know what the heck it's called anymore. I don't know what all the little names of all the main things are. I know what their like names are when they're finished, whatever. Not worried about it. So right now, we're doing fine. We're actually 1, 0, and 11. We have got our ADC fed lovely, because that is what you want to do as Leona. And we're on track right now. We're doing pretty good. Right now, Caitlyn is getting beyond caught out. We're going to be able to Zenith Blade over to her. Just put that right in front where I knew she was going to be standing. We're all going to be able to pick up assists, and then that Lucian's going to get the kill. I'm going to throw a few wards down. Make sure we're safe when we attempt this dragon. You know, just to cover our backs. Right now, there's nobody really showing up on the map. I think we just saw somebody for a split second in top lane. Yeah, Yasuo's up there. Cho'Gath's coming from mid. There's Zed in mid. So we're safe here, but it's good to have those wards out before you go take those buffs, just to make sure you don't get caught out. You want that vision, because if you don't have that vision, you're going to have a bad time. We're going to move in and lock down people. It's going to be super easy to kill Sona. All I did was stun her, make sure she didn't get away. Now Zed, a little bit harder to catch him. But we ulted him and we moved in. I'm going to get up here. I'm going to make sure I start taking the tower because Rengar is going to move in. So he doesn't have to worry about any tower damage. Unfortunately, Caitlyn shows up and will shut him down. But I was at least able to tank that long enough so he was able to kill Zed. So just another thing about being in the support and in situations like that. Get into the tower first if they're going to continue their chase. So, you know, you kind of have to read it. I'm not playing with that person, so I didn't say, hey, I'll tank this for you. I just was like, hey, it looks like he's charging hard. I'll keep going in too. I can help negate damage from him, see if we can both get something positive out of this situation. So just little things like that to pay attention when you're playing a tanky support like Leona. Threw a ward over the wall, just take a look at where blue was, and luckily we can see that. I'm going to have Lucian come down here, and we can have him get this, and we're going to throw another ward just over here on the other side, just for safety reasons, in case they decide to come for their blue buff since it is up. Now, what we like to do with our Masteries when I'm playing Leona, we go with that tank support page. I believe it's is it 14-16 or is it 16-14? In the defense and utility. I don't know off the top of my head. Anyways, if you want to see this page, I actually have videos dedicated to all the Masteries pages. They're in the description. It is in part 2 of the Masteries. And here we're just going to grab Caitlyn, little stun, little Lucian ult, and a lot of death. So, very helpful, and at this point, with that crowd control and having someone with this much damage, because, I mean, the ADC should have damage, if you can catch anyone and grab anyone, it should be a kill. And we're going to do it again in just a second, because I'm going to land everything. He starts to back off for a second, but he realizes I'm actually going in. So here he goes in, he backs for a split second, realizes I'm in, use the ultimate, make sure I lock him down, he'll pick up another kill. So, you can just lock people down. They just aren't able to get away, and with damage the Lucian has, easy kills. So, like I was saying with that Masteries page, you can take that. What we do over there is we get a little bit of the defense early. The late stuff's good in the defensive tree, but the main thing is we switch back over to utility, pick up the important things over there, and since it only takes a few more points to get all that gold hustling stuff and the gold over time, we go for that, and that's really helpful overall. It helps us build items. Here we are going to finish off. Do we finish off? Do we have the gold? We bought the Giant's Belt. Yep, there's the Omen. We finished off the Omen, so now we do have a lot of armor. Very helpful. We're going to start to look at magic resist next. Unfortunately, the game will be ending before we get much further into the build, but we can go ahead and talk about those items too. Let's go over those runes, though, real quick. Runes that you're probably going to want to take. Marks, kind of up to you. I actually either take attack damage marks on her because you do a lot of standard attacking. Like, I'm just standard attacking, standard attacking, standard attacking. You do a lot of standard attacking, so having some damage there isn't a terrible thing. You can do hybrid pen too. We're going to take the armor seals. You want to make sure you have those. I like magic resist per level glyphs, and I like to take movement speed Quints, but that's going to be a build for Leona. Everything else is in the description, including how the continuation of items would go, but other than that, I'll just see all of you in the next build video. Go ahead and jump on to the Lucian here. Just going to pretty much be able to solo him. Not going to have to worry about it. Just going to take a massive swipe out of him right there. Finish him off. Gragas is going to get smart, run off. Because, I mean, his damage, I can heal straight through that with those standard attacks. With